Hello, everyone. Welcome to Onyx Path Con 2022. How's everybody feeling this evening? I'm Travis Legge. I will be the MC of this panel, and this is our virtual gaming slash running online games panel, which is a tradition that we do every year. We like to pull in people that are running games on our channels and talk about the tips and tricks and hard lessons we've learned and fun times we've had, and basically it's an excuse for us to just sit around and bullshit for an hour. But sometimes you need those sorts of things. For those of you who are in the chat, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. We will, I'm sure, do our best to answer them in a timely and useful fashion. But before we dive too far into, if you do ask a question, please type question in all caps at the front of it. And if you want to be extra fancy, you can spend your chips of Onyx, which are our channel currency, to highlight your message. And that makes it even easier for us to see. But before we get too far into everything, let me go ahead and introduce my illustrious panel mates, or have them introduce themselves, because that's always my preference. So why don't we go ahead and start with Scott, please tell us who you are, what you do, your pronouns, and what you normally stream on the Onyx Path channel.
Sure. My name is Scott Kuban. I run Simulacra Studios. It's a very small streaming TRPG channel. My pronouns are he, him. Twitter at Simulacra RPGs, as per the doobly-doo. I run, mostly these days, I run Trinity Continuum games. I have a game of Aberrant called Atomic Youth that is currently on hiatus because I haven't edited season 3 yet. And I'm running once every other week Aeon game called Lunar Rocks. And both of those get mirrored to the Onyx Path channel because that's fun.
I am still heartbroken about having to back out of Lunar Rocks at the last minute, by the way.
It's been a fun time. We would have missed you, man. But
it would have been cool to be there. But next time, Gadget.
Next time.
And speaking of people who I need to play in the next game they're on, Chaz, please tell us who you are, what you do, pronouns, and what you run.
Hello, everyone. So my name is Chaz Callendar. He, him, they, them, both completely fine. I'm a PhD student who studies storytelling and co-creation. So that's in like video games, tabletop RPGs, all that fun stuff, and how people work together to create this story, and how it goes further than that. And usually I've been allowed, when I run things, I've been allowed to run some Scion on Onyx Path. So every once in a while, Travis will be like, there's not enough chaos in his life, and he'll let me come on, and then I can just hang out with him or some of the other people who are in my group. And we try to keep it non-chaotic, and it lasts for like 10 minutes, and then it goes. That's just how it goes.
At best, yeah. No, and I really appreciate the games both y'all run. But I'm very thankful that you've come on and run some Scion for us, especially times where you've always been able to step in when we've needed you the most, scheduling wise, and I deeply appreciate it. So I want to make sure I say that in front of the entire universe, or at least the dozen people or so that are watching. So I guess before we dive too far in, we have a question already. How are you all doing tonight? So let's have Chaz field this first. Chaz, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing pretty well. It is 90 degrees outside, which to most people sounds horrible. I love the heat, and so I am actually feeling really good. Like, I don't have to create my own body heat. The universe is doing it for me. Like, fantastic.
That's amazing news. Glad to hear it. How about you, Scott? How you doing?
I'm feeling great. I just had a really fun game of Aeon over on the Occultist Economist channel. That was really fun to run. It was, well, I suppose we'll get into that later. It was a little challenging to only do a 2-hour time slot. I will say that.
That is definitely a topic we can dive into.
But yeah, no, it's nighttime here in Atlanta, so not as oppressive and terrible as it could be.
Yeah, and I've got air conditioning in Rockford, Illinois, where I don't know what the temperature is outside because I can't remember the last time I was there. That's not true. I mowed my lawn today. I knew I was going to be spending a lot of time sitting in a chair, so I went out and cut the grass. But otherwise, doing great. Yeah. Yeah, it's been a surprisingly no, you know what? I'm not going to say how things are going on the tech side because that way invites chaos. So I'm doing well generally. I'll say that. But yeah, so diving into time slots, one of the things that I would love to discuss. Oh, hey, what? There's a Kelly in the chat that was going to be in the meeting. Kelly, I thought you were playing in another game, which is why I changed the meeting. If you're coming in live, I will bring you onto this call. Don't think I won't. We can handle chaos. We can make up the rules. We can do what we want. We're grown.
Made it 5 minutes. I like it.
See, it's because Chaz is here. That's the problem.
I can't even not deny it. That's the problem. Yeah.
It's true. Let's see. All right. So, Kelly just said, I hope not. That's funny as hell. So yeah, while I'm fixing this, time slots. Let's talk time slots. We oftentimes over at the old Onyx Path stick to like a 2-hour time slot. We do that a lot for the conventions as well. And so one of the reasonings behind that is we find that when you get into too much longer than that, it's a little harder to maintain audience engagement. It's a little bit harder for the players to stay engaged. I find that personally that it's a little bit trying for, when the players go for a longer stretch, they can start to sink a little bit. And at the end of the day, this is entertainment. All of our cameras just went super wonky. Hey, Kelly, what's up? I'm going to fix those. But while I'm doing that, let's keep the conversation going. So you had mentioned that you ran into a bit of a challenge in tackling this, tackling a 2-hour time slot. So can you elaborate on that a little bit while I'm fixing cameras?
I generally stick to a 3-hour time slot. I think that is kind of a happy medium as far as I'm concerned. I generally build most of my scenarios to fill that amount of content, just because I feel that it gives a little bit more room to breathe without dragging on too terribly long. And Kelly can attest to how well it happened. And
I can.
An hour ago.
It's good pacing to have. Sorry. Also, hi everybody. How's it going? I couldn't get into the meeting, and I also am on the West Coast, so time is an illusion. It's always weird to talk about times, because Travis, what do you and Chaz? Nice to meet you, by the way, Chaz.
That's what you do.
What do you guys do for gaming time? Because I like to stick when I'm running. I've got 90-minute bathroom break, 90-minute. Because then I've got the cliffhanger in the middle.
Mm-hmm. I generally stick to around that myself because I know that I need that break at the very least. But yeah, I think that kind of pacing works. Like you said, it allows you to set up a cliffhanger in the middle. And it allows some time for role play scenes to breathe a little bit more. I can usually get people back on task when I see the time ticking away. But I like having those longer role play sessions of just characters talking to each other and occasionally an NPC getting involved as well. 2 hours. 2 hours was a bit of a challenge because I'm just so used to 3 hours. That's what my brain has set to. But it didn't go too terrible. I thought it was a fun game.
Yeah, no, it went pretty well. I can see where you were trying to compress it, and you were like,
Yeah, there was. Well, I basically took out the big fight in that. There was supposed to be a fight with some goons.
Can I ask y'all a question? So tomorrow, I'm running a 2-hour slot of Ghost Hunters, and I feel like that's gonna be one of the harder ones I've ever ran live, for stream, because horror games like Ghost Hunters, there's so much build, and I'm just gonna have to well, there are ghosts and they're pushing you on spikes. What would you guys do?
I mean, there is a certain, if you watch the shows that I tend to run, there I tend to, because I serialize them, I tend to really try to always be ending on like and you're about to get into a fight, which is really easy to do when you have a 2-hour time slot.
Right.
But it also it tees you up for the next one for just starting in the middle of a fight as well, right? Or in the middle of a dramatic moment. I tend to run a lot of D&D, so it tends to be a lot of fights. And that and my players are murder hobos. But you know, so short story long, I would say even for a one shot, you know, starting things off, you know, with an initiative roll, starting things off with a combat roll, starting things off with what's your AC, you know, what's your defense? What? Why? I'll explain. You know, and getting into it at that level, I think is also super duper fun and useful. But Chaz, you had thoughts you were about to share.
I mean, that was essentially what I was going to say. Like, my plan for tomorrow is, because like I love that beginning hour where we're like just getting to know each other, but it does take up a lot of time. And so you start off with like, "Hi, nice to meet you. You are a scion of this." All right, someone just like threw a ball at you. Like, it gets the pacing quickly, and players are like quick to be like, "Oh, like we can adjust to this," while like getting to know each other without that that time to like kind of role play. And then once you have that initial high action, whether it's, you know, a fight, whether it's like a ghost hunting immediately, and then it kind of like speeds up the pace. There have been times where like that wasn't enough, but like usually that's what I do to just kind of like get it going, so I can like kind of circumvent that extra hour that I also am used to.
Fair. What are you running tomorrow, Chaz?
We're doing Scion Demigod, which I love because
nice.
My entire job is to be like, so you like try to pick up a cup and you crush the building, like just go as far as I can go.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a fun thing. Now there are a couple of slots I think that we're running this weekend that are going to be 3-hour slots. I know the Crossroads Continent game is 3 hours, and that's partially because we want to show that off, because that's kind of the game line that we're celebrating in the for this month at the Onyx Path. And then I think my Dead Man's Rust game is 3 hours too.
I think my mage game tomorrow is 2.5.
Yeah, I think so. Some of the vagaries of the scheduling, I'm going to peel back the curtain a little bit for when you're doing a giant event like this. Some of the vagaries of the scheduling of this particular convention were just because we wanted to ensure that everybody who was working tech had at least a 30-minute window of in between broadcasts. So that gives you realistically 15 minutes to get up, walk around, hydrate, you know, all things that you probably ought to be doing when you're spending extended time sitting at a computer. So that led to a couple of like 2.5-hour games, which is not normal, but we felt that was probably the best way to proceed. I think we tried to do that last year and did a much less good job of it. So I'm
always hard with conventions. even in-person conventions. Like, I come from a background of like hosting like anime and game conventions, and it's always overlap, always. Yeah. And like nobody wants to leave the damn rooms, and it's, at least you can just kick people with a button here. It's just like, well, you're out.
Gotta go. Yeah. Well, and
they died.
And I mean, the good thing, and we did a little bit because Kelly had the privilege of working tech last year too. And it was there were some challenges that we theoretically learned from this year that theoretically have paid off in that learning. Hopefully now everybody actually has a title card under their name and is in the right space. And again, I would like to apologize to you, Kelly. So there was another peeling back the curtain moment about how these at the end of the day, what you're doing here is live programming, right? So live programming, shit will always go sideways. Things will always be bad. You will always have problems. Prime example of this, there was a communication wire crossed because I thought Kelly was going to be in another game. But also I couldn't get into...
Am I in another game?
I hope not.
Oh, shit.
Nobody's yelled for you, so...
I don't think so. I think there was talk about me maybe being in Scion, and then it just fell through.
Yeah, it was either that or
Is
I
there-
thought Aeon was going later than it was.
Oh yeah, Aeon was pretty well.
Because you were like right up against this, right?
I was. It was enough that I had some pizza in between, and I was like, all right, let's go.
Yeah, so that's my bad. But then also I couldn't get
It's
into
okay,
the
man.
call, which is a long technical story. But at the end of the day, I had to make a new meeting. So yeah, you run into things like that. Like, we're supposed to be live in 10 minutes and I have to make a new Zoom meeting and then distribute it to everybody that's on the call. Stuff like that happens in live programming. So being able to roll with those punches is a good skill that you kind of develop as you go. Or you just have no pride and be perfectly willing to do things like reset the setup in the middle of the call.
I mean, I think that's totally fine. You just got to vamp, right? Like, you just got to be honest with your audience. Like, they're here to watch the live theater.
Exactly. Yeah. And for all of its glory and warts and all.
So I'm going to take this opportunity to evangelize about a new tool that I've started to use, which I talked a little bit before the stream.
Please do.
Video.ninja. It is a little unintuitive. It's not as slick as Zoom, but once you get to know how to use it, it is so much better. The primary thing that it does is basically each person gets their own URL that you can just pop into an OBS as a source.
Nice. What's we use something called Ping for that. It's similar idea. How's the video quality on?
It's pretty good. I mean, the way it does things is that what you look at as a person in the in the video conference doesn't look that great because it's sacrificing that quality to make the output look better.
Yeah.
So the output looks pretty good, and you can tweak it, and you can push the resolution and make it better because it's processing on everyone's computer. So it's spreading the processing out. So the output looks great, like generally looks good. It even has its own like fake green screen thing because I like to do green screen on my overlays because I think it looks slick. So yeah, I've been using it. It's great. I think for like if you can get your head around it for a convention setup, it'd be better. Because like basically you make rooms and then those rooms are kind of permanent and you can just have a permalink that you can do. So you don't have to go through the hassle of like scheduling a meeting. You just create a room and then it kind of remembers it based off like the string of characters that is part of the invite. And then it just kind of remembers everyone. And so then you can just sort of, you can set things up ahead of time and then have everyone, and then just, if you need to pop in a specific URL to a source. We're talking shop here.
We sure are. Yeah. No, that's cool though.
And it's really useful. I've been using it for Lunar Rocks and it's solved a lot of headaches.
Yeah. What's the link again, if you don't mind?
It's video.ninja.
Video.ninja.
Yeah. And
so what are the?
If it.
Sorry, go ahead.
I just threw it in the chat to see if it works.
Interesting.
Hey, it does. So there we go.
Have we had any questions or any topics that people wanted to hear about, or?
No, like you got here right at the start, and then we did all that fun camera juggling that I'm sure was great viewing and didn't run anybody off. So no, we're just. How are you doing? That was the one question that you missed so far.
I might. I had pizza. I don't need it, but I got it.
That's fair. Everybody needs fuel. But yeah, so aside from that little bit of tech talk, which is extremely useful, and I do intend to check that out. I use Zoom personally, partially because that's what I've always used. I tried using Discord at the very, very, very beginning of my streaming experience. And then I was like, "Oh, I'll pay for Zoom. That's fine."
Zoom is the Starbucks. Zoom is the Starbucks of audio calls. Like, you know exactly what you're getting. Like, it's stable. You know the hours of operation, and it's gonna work, even if it's gonna taste kind of flat. Discord is like that, like a university coffee shop, like where it's like, it's gonna be great, or you're not gonna know what the hell you're drinking.
It kind of depends on who's working, how recently they had a break, what they smoked on their break.
Yeah, it was just too inconsistent for me. Zoom did me good for a long time, but then I started like hearing about this tool on some other Discord channels that I frequent, and I tried it out, and it works. It works
No.
real good.
And and I think, like, in terms of like an advice for the audience type of thing, I would say don't be scared to try new tools and stuff. Like when you told me about Video.Ninja, I got super excited about it, but I think you shared it like a month-ish ago, something like that.
Yeah.
And we were already like,
Oh yeah, no.
the wheels were already burning on this con, and you do not want to switch pitchers in the middle of that particular inning. And yeah, ping.gg was the other one that you mentioned.
It's not cheap. It's like they focus on high quality, like really high quality resolution. I just happened to, one of my players is one of the founders of the company, so it's really
Nice.
like, so that was like actually they were on Onyx Path. They played in the Aberrant game I ran on OPP.
Okay. Yeah.
We have a question from Iron Warrior.
Yeah, we do. What are your recommendations for piping sounds to your players? I use Voice Meter Banana and some other stuff to pipe into Discord, but I'm interested in hearing what other people use for sounds, music sharing. So I will start this off by disappointing the entire audience and explaining that I really don't use music when I'm running a tabletop game. And in fact, if I'm running and the story guide wants to use music, I generally disable it. It really messes with my ability to focus on what I'm doing. Lots of things do. I think it might be that I'm getting old. It might be that my weed consumption has gone up since the pandemic started. But whatever the case, I am easily distracted. So
I have a lot of players that have that same problem, actually. Like one of my players is
their
hearing
weed
impaired.
consumption has gone up.
Yeah, well, I got. Yeah. This is too loud. The music, no. What?
I'm sorry.
No, that's fair. That's fair. I think everybody's has with the. But yeah, like I have some players that have hearing issues, and so I use Roll20 because I use it for maps for some D&D games, and I mostly use it for its mixing board. It's not ideal, but it's stable. People can control their own internal volume if they don't want to listen to it, and if you pay like, I don't know, like $5 a month or something like that, you get like two gigabytes worth of music space. And I just buy a ton of licenses for inexpensive DRM free music, basically.
Yeah.
So like Dark Fantasy Studios, Monument Studios, which by the way, Monument Studios, freaking phenomenal. Dark Fantasy Studios usually has like deals over on Humble Bundle. And next time it does, I'll post in like whatever group or things so we can share it around.
Yeah, toss it up in the Onyx Path Discord even.
Yeah.
You know, when next time you see one. And I was gonna say too, not to cut you off entirely, but Humble Bundle is a good thing. Make sure you're subscribed to Humble Bundle. Just get their emails, because stuff will come across all the time, and you're like, oh yeah, I could use 900 royalty free music tracks.
That literally was it was like something like 500 for like $30.
Yeah, it's not bad, and you can get graphic stuff that way. They have a lot of stuff that can be used like for video game development packages, but you can use that just as well for like VTTs and stuff like that too.
It's usually listed under their software bundles, guys. So if you're looking for it, that's where it's going to be. Don't let the word software confuse you, because it's not for programming. It's for like video game development, but it's also for streaming.
Right, and sometimes you will get like a thing in there too.
Oh shit! There's one right now.
Is it?
Yeah, I'll post it in the chat.
Dope.
I don't use music, same as you, Travis. It's just not my style. Like I don't. It doesn't add much to me as far as my games go. So I have nothing to say on the matter.
I tried using music originally, and I used Rhythmbot for Discord, but it just got too difficult, like balancing the music, and like some people liked it, some people didn't, and like in person it'll be like completely fine, but when it's coming directly into your ears, so my players did not like it, so I kind of stopped.
And listen to Chaz, because they're about to be a doctor. So
that is what I'm trying to do.
Congratulations.
But yeah, I mean, this is specifically like your area of scholastic expertise, right?
Yeah, using music as a narrative tool in co-creative spaces. So like when in person, like I used it like all the time. But like once we got online, it like being able to use the different music was easy, but then like because there was that thing where like in person people could have silent conversations, the music wasn't like ever present, but like no matter how low you put it, like the music was always present. So like I had to talk over the music, or other people had to talk over the music, and so I never found a way to like really fix that. And since I don't do most of my online stuff is like just for fun, I just kind of like cut out that.
Yeah.
See, like,
Oh, go ahead.
I was just say like that's really interesting. Actually, so much of what you just said was very interesting, especially like what you're studying. But like it has become a really integral part of like the shows on Dork Tales, like having music and costuming, and has been so like integral to like I guess our brand. I don't know. It feels weird to say, but it's a hell of a lot of work. And if I did not have very rampant attention deficit disorder that allowed me to like multitask like I do, I would not be able to do it.
Like if I were to like actually do like a prolonged like streaming thing, or like do once, I think like I would make the investment and be like, yes, I'm going to find a way to make this work, because like, you know, like this is what I have chosen, for better or worse to study. Like I think like music is super important in conveying like emotions, especially when it's not, you're not just like receiving the story or interpreting the story, but like actively co-creating the story. I could like describe why you're afraid, or I could just put on, as you're like, no, some kind of scary music, and you're like, wait, what's going on? I'm not going to that door. Like I know what you're doing, and it creates that sense.
Yeah, my flavor of ADD just does not allow me to manage that sort of thing.
Right.
Like
I love how many flavors of ADD there actually are too. Like it's like, oh,
it is kind of the Baskin Robbins of neurodivergence. But
seriously.
The other thing that brings up, though, that's an interesting point that I think merits some discussion, is the difference in using play aids, right? Whether it be costuming, whether it be music, whether it be whatever graphic stuff, there's a difference between using that to enrich the experience for your players, right? And using that in a performative space of an online stream, right? So like you might, for example, it would be much easier for me to send music out to the audience while I am running a game that I'm not hearing that music. Like that would be easier for me to parse and may be of a greater value to the audience members. But will it? But that won't have any impact on the actual play. But there's a lot of things. I guess so. Really, what that calls to mind to me is, what are some things that you do for your streams that differentiate them from we're going to sit around the table and play? There's been a little a particular TikToker that I follow. Who's got some, clout in the LARP space and the tabletop space, was talking about how streaming is performance and it's not, and you wouldn't want streamers at your home table. And while I kind of maybe understand some of what is being said there, I don't necessarily 100% agree with that condition hanging on it. But I would like to hear everybody's thoughts on it. So like in terms of employing your brand, how does that differentiate from what you do at the home tables? Scott, you want to touch on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a difference between the type of streaming that I think most of us do, and this, because I think I know who you're talking about, and I think that he was.
Yeah, it's Matt Stormcrow. Go tell him on TikTok I said so.
Yeah, I know Matt. I've been to Night in Question a couple of times. Great guy. I think there's a difference between, like, especially the style of streaming that I do, which is much more friends around the table vibe, than like Critical Role or Dimension 20 that has like huge production budget behind it.
Right.
And let's just be honest, LA people.
Right.
On the table, which I love all of that. I'm not disparaging any of that in the slightest, but I don't play with voice actors. I play with, gamers and friends and people who, I get meet over Discord. So I don't think that it's entirely valid from a perspective of the type of stream game that I run. As far as different things for brand, I like to try new things. I like to try new tech out. I think the biggest swing that I've done is my Aberrant Atomic Youth game, where all the players are, all the players are doing they're VTuber avatars.
Mhm.
So you're not seeing their faces, you're seeing like animated characters that track their movements. So it's a virtual avatar, and so they all look like their characters. That's probably the biggest tech swing I've done, and I think it's cool, and I hope that people enjoy it as a sort of a novelty thing. But it's a lot of work.
I really dig it. I'd like to do something similar, and the biggest concerns for me have been like budget and what I want the tech to be able to do. Because ideally, I'd like to be able to use Adobe Character, the Adobe Animate for it, but it just isn't there, unfortunately. How about what were we gonna say?
I said there are a lot of programs where if you just get a few artists to give you a couple of facial features, you could just do PNG tubing, like ping tubing.
Oh, sure.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, and that's something I thought about too, is just building them myself in like Photoshop or something, but or just After Effects even. But what about you, Kelly? Do you have any
Oh boy.
thoughts
So
on that topic before we?
So I'm a tabletopper and a LARPer. At least I was, like, before the pandemic anyway. So I brought a ton of that into when we started streaming. So like, I mean, Dork Tales uses like fully soundtracked, fully costumed. When we can do crazy stuff, we do. But like we're I mean, we're a bunch of nerds, but a lot of us have like a real theatrical bent. We're either theater kids, we're artists. We do have some voice actors. One of my players is a voice actor on Goblin Slayer, like that anime.
Oh, dope.
And just a bunch of like anime nerds and people like West Coasters, right? But you can't do certain things. Like for super quick story, back in the day, I would use things like scent and other senses in game. I had one night where I was running a vampire game, and they were hunting down this guy, this young Ventru, who had gone missing, and I served a bunch of food before a game. I served like, I got a great deal on sausage at the store. Well, it turned out that the Ventru had been kidnapped by some ghouls that ran a deli. And the players had been eating sausage all night.
Oh no!
And not everybody wanted this, and they knew that the type of like visceral experience that they were going for there. But it, like, you can't do that with streaming, right? You can't like, and you also have to really monitor like your content, because some people, especially like World of Darkness players, sometimes really want it dark, like really dark. They are asking for the darkest game you can give them. And you're like, I really can't. I'm sorry. This is broadcast to the world. Like, I know you want to have the super rough game, or like historical games are pretty bad at that as well. Like, everybody wants to run a World War II game, but I don't know any storytellers who want to play the other side of that.
Right.
Because all you need is one clip of you saying a particular phrase, and then it's like, well, my career's over. But like, I mean, we try to do it over here so that we've all got like the same lighting setups, same mic setups, and things like that, so that we keep our quality like as consistent as we can. But my God, it is a pain in the ass to do. Like, it is so much work, and just like scheduling. Like I mean, I do this basically full time. Like, I do this in a part-time gig, and 80% of my job is just admin.
Yeah.
It's not even running the damn stream. It's just like,
there's a
like
lot.
trying to schedule people.
There's a lot that goes into it that's not actually sitting in front of the camera and rolling the dice, as it were. How about you, Chaz? Any tips or tricks or things that you use to differentiate, or do you feel like you hit the same vibe? I know you'd mentioned the use of music and whatnot, but are there any other?
So I also have like a performance background. Like, I was theater, I played instruments. Like, I had a lot of that performance. And I bring that up now because like I am very aware of the difference. Like, there's even been times with like even today, before the stream started, I was down, phone, like it was super low energy. And the second you said we're on at 5, all right, because it is time to do that performance. And like Kelly said, like the content changes, like, and I think I'm super fortunate because like I have yet to have to do any tech. Like, you'll do it, Gilbert will do it. Like, I have been able to avoid that for years. And so I don't have that extra stuff of like, doing the admin, or even like making sure the stream runs. All I have to do is storytell or DM, and still like the DM or the storyteller that is Chaz that people have seen on stream is going to be fairly different than the storyteller who's like in person, because like you have that, you can bring in those other senses because you don't necessarily have to worry about the world, you just worry about the people around you and create a space there. And so like, while I think there are a lot of similarities, there are just differences even in how you craft the story so that you can bring in the people before you, but also the audience, because they're also part of that co-creation of that narrative.
For sure. And this will be a great deal of amusement, I think, to a couple of the folks who've been watching Onyx Path's Twitch streams for some time, but I pay a lot more attention to the intricacies and specifics of the rules. As freewheeling as I am about rules on streams, I'm still paying much closer attention to that than I would be if I didn't have an audience over my shoulder.
Oh, absolutely. You'll hear about it.
Well, yes. And you know, to be 100% fair, I run a show that's called Story Path Showcase, so I should probably have the rules right. But like, you know, but having said that, though, I mean, if we're sitting around the table, like, if it's mildly inconvenient for me to look up a rule, I'll just make a ruling on the fly and move along. It's not even like, you know, oh, because this is a weird corner case, I need it. No, it's just like, let's keep the action going. Everybody cool with him getting advantage on this roll? Yep. All right, great, go.
Nice.
You know,
much
because
more freewheeling.
Right. It's about the only people you have to entertain are those people that you're getting that body language. And I guess that's probably for me the greatest challenge is even gamers that I know. You know, Alex Rodriguez Lecco has been on multiple shows with me, and I've gamed in person with that dude for over 2 decades. So him, I can pretty well get a read on his body language. I can catch little things. I know when he's having a good time. I know when he's not, right? But that's because I've known him for 20 years. You know, playing with people who I've never met in person, or playing with people who I've only interacted with, you know, in this space, or when you're only getting this much of what's going on with them, it's very challenging to know that you're landing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's fair.
Especially in more, you know, like more subtle scenes and scenes that are, you know, if everybody's like hooting and hollering and having and laughing, then it's usually pretty good. But
well, as a theatrical person, like as an extrovert, I always find that like it's when you're playing with somebody new, like doing like these con games, like earlier in your game, Scott, it was like, ooh, how much do I hold the leash? Like how much? Because like I'll just run this show. Like if you don't stop me, I've been a storyteller for like 20 years now, right? Like I'm used to talking a lot. Sorry, by the way. But like, because everybody's feeling each other out. You've only got like 2.5 hours, 2 hours to do it. You're like, I don't want to be that guy, but we're kind of quiet.
Yeah. I generally try and especially on online games, I try and police the focus as best as I can because I want everyone to have a moment to shine. I want everyone to you know, showcase their characters and showcase the cool things that their characters can do. But some people are more talkative than others, and you know, you gotta, you know, you're thinking about an entertainment value. Sometimes you gotta let the extrovert a little bit.
That's true.
Sure,
that's true.
Well, I mean, and I guess that's another interesting tidbit to touch on, because a lot of us are not, most of us who are ever going to stream a tabletop game are not in Los Angeles in a production studio sitting around a $10,000 custom table with 8 cameras and a director, right? So for those of us that aren't, most of the people, we will pull people for streams that are, you know, doing other creative things, that are friends of ours, that are, you know, random folk we hang out with in Discord, whatever winds up bringing together the population of a stream. And that sometimes means that you have to maybe pull a little bit out of a player, maybe even more than you would like if you're at a home game, right? If you're at a home game and you have one dude who shows up every week, brings snacks when it's his turn, and always knows what his character's going to do, but spends the rest of the time sitting there staring at his phone, says, I'm going to attack the orc. I got a 12. That's fine in a home game. Totally cool, as long as nobody has an issue with it, right?
I had that happen on stream. Actually, I had a friend that was browsing Tinder during a stream when we were in person. Still, I looked over and I'm like, it's like being a mom out at a grocery store. Like, as soon as this camera's not on, I'm beating you.
You develop that little thieves' cant of I'm gonna smack. No, don't smack your players. It's a bad idea.
Don't smack your players.
But no, I mean, but what tools do you have in the box for pulling people out of their shells like that, or is that something you concern yourself with? Is that something that you do take pains to avoid when you're casting? Is that something that you like having somebody that you can pull that energy from?
So one of my annoying habits is that I insist on creating the character with you. I don't care if you create the system. I'm like, hey, how about we sit together and make this character together? Because that means I know that no matter what, even if you don't talk at all, there's going to be that one moment where I'm like, hey, here's this thing that only you can like affect, because like I know I've created all the characters. Because I usually have at least one person who's like very quiet and like they look they're having fun, but they're just like very like withdrawn. But if I'm like, I have like a dragon, you're the only one that can take down a dragon, that gives them that moment to shine. Or they could be like, I'll let someone else do it. But it's like a very clear, like, this is for you.
That 1,000,000%. That is beautiful.
So like
absolutely
crafting a moment for them to have the spotlight.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Crafting a moment that has a spotlight, drawing in things that you know that they're interested in. If they've shown interest in a particular NPC, bring that NPC around or put that NPC in danger. Mm-hmm. That's always a good trick to play.
I mean, go ahead.
I was gonna say I send out Google forms before games that are like little like tests, and I'm like, name 3 people you interact with on a daily basis, friends or enemies. Like one sentence. I don't need a lot. Like I limit it to short answers because I mean we've all had players that give us like a 20-page bio before a 2-shot game, and you're like, thanks. Like I don't have time for that. But like these little nugget events that we can jump off of, so good. And flashbacks. Flashbacks are one of the number one thing that you can do, in my opinion, because if you do a flashback sequence, if the character's like, oh, well, I fell in love and then, my lover died, whatever. It's like, yeah, flashback to the good stuff.
Well, and one of the things, not to be like, entirely corporate motivated, but one of the things I love about the story path system, honestly, is that the system rewards narrative engagement, right? You get these means and these methods of, whether it's rewrites and They Came From or dramatic editing and Trinity Continuum. You have these things where, like, maybe this player doesn't really want to get into character and act things out and things along those lines. But when you put them in a position, piggybacking off what you were saying about flashbacks, where it's like, all right, now you have control over this scene. What are we changing? Walk me through that room. Some of those players that might, the player that is only concerned about the rules and the fighting, all of a sudden now they light up and now they become this storyteller because they get the chance to craft the ideal tactical situation.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one of the things that I really dig about the story path system, just in terms of being able to pick it up and play with a group that you've never really met before, because it's there's several silos to lean into that bring everyone into that core spirit of narrative storytelling. Even if you're talking about the crunch, the players that are way more into the crunch of it, that are way more into the numbers and the combat.
Yeah, another trick that I like to pull is when people are like in super, like, I do this action, I use this power, interacting with the system on a very mechanical level. I will like stop and ask them, and what does that look like? What does it look like when you do that? Basically forcing them to have a moment of description of their character and how they're doing something to add a little bit more cinematics to it.
And
Yeah,
giving
absolutely.
bonuses for that too to sweeten the pot, you know,
Yeah.
like, yeah, you make it sound cool. That's like a +1, guys. Do it.
Mhm.
You know?
Yeah,
Oh.
absolutely. Reward it when they steer into the skid of the narrative. So we've got about 15 minutes left on this panel, if my clock is correct. So just want to remind everyone, if you have a question, please feel free to drop it in the chat. Hit us with that, all caps question, so don't miss it. Do any of you have any nuggets of wisdom or salient points or questions that you wanted to ask? Anything that you wanted to discuss and touch on while we're on this panel?
I had one, but I think I forgot it, actually.
Ruh-roh.
Awesome.
I know, ruh-roh.
Congratulations.
Right? It's I'm getting old.
Going around. I just turned 43, by the way. Happy belated birthday.
Did you? Happy
Yeah,
birthday.
Monday. The 6th, whatever
Okay.
day that was.
No, that's a dumb question. That was a scheduling question.
There are no
Scheduling questions always bad.
stupid questions.
Let's
I mean,
see.
speaking of scheduling, I have another tidbit. It's called whenisgood.net. It's a scheduling website that it basically, you as the scheduler list a list of times that you are going to be available for a thing, and then everyone else checks their own schedule against that list, and it compiles a nice little infographic of here are the times when everyone is available.
It's handy to have. It's
Yeah,
nice.
it's
nice
a
little
really
tool.
good tool.
Yeah, I just saw somebody mention in the chat Exalted does a great job of rewarding description. Yeah, with the stunts and stuff. Yeah, Exalted does a dope job of it. And I'm I love D&D. I'll far be it for me to rag on it. But the one thing that I feel is a little bit lacking in 5e is that inspiration is like, yeah, you got it or you don't, and it just gives you this thing that you're gonna get probably anyway if you're playing the game tactically. So porting in some stuff that's more narrative based, I think would be good. Yeah.
I remembered what it was. So for those of us that stream online games in front of an audience, channel points or pay to affect the stream type of thing. So channel points being, of course, like the free version of that. We use channel points unless we're doing like a charity stream. Then it's, of course, you can buy whatever the hell you want, and that just goes usually to help kids. Do any of you use it? How do you like it? Because honestly, I use it to help me cheat in games, especially D&D, because D&D is so unbalanced and not my favor when I'm the DM.
Right.
So like I have people buy me these tokens, like hurt them more tokens that allow me to like be like, okay, cool, I get an extra attack. Or, you know what, maybe I succeeded that, or I get an extra legendary or something like that if I spend it. But like, what do you guys think about that? Like, do you use these type of things? Or are you against them? If so, why?
I think they're very cool. I just wish I had the viewers to do it. Like, not a lot of people watch my stuff, so I would love to do it, but it's not practical for me.
It does require having an engaged and routinely having an engaged and sizable audience to really pack a lot of punch with it. But they are cool. It's a lot of work to set up. I've toyed with it a lot. One of the problems with doing it for the Onyx Path channel is that there's, at any given moment, anywhere between 3 and a dozen showrunners. So how do you codify that or quantify that, or how do you set it up for each person? That's a lot of the logistical roadblocks that we run into at Onyx Path are a little different because of the nature of the programming that we're doing. We're not one channel that's run by 6 people that are always doing stuff together. Having said that, though, I do play I run a stream on the Wednesdays opposite when I'm running Dead Man's Rust on this channel. So the second and fourth Wednesday, I run a stream at the Roll for Seduction Twitch, which is Odysseys and Overlords. It's the OSR game that I wrote, and they have a lot of tip for mechanics, including wild magic stuff, including a random troll comes in and it happens because they are everyone on the channel but me pretty much is a Swerker. So there's very it's a ribald sort of troll that shows up when you buy it, and then narratively.
What a sexy troll, my favorite.
Exactly. So the point being though is they're hilarious. Only problem I've ever really run into it is if I ever really wanted to get. I feel like they might be an impediment if I ever really wanted to get like serious on that show, which I may from time to time. But I've found though, anytime we've dipped into drama, the audience generally starts. If they're leaving tips, they're doing it in a different direction. Those are a lot more like everybody have a shot. Everybody, stuff like that. So I mean, my experience, I guess that's a long way of saying my experience has been good with them. I think they're a good idea if you can nail the logistics of how to make them work. How about you, Chaz?
I mean, anything that hurts players more, I'm all for.
Yeah.
Especially with 5e. Like, I also love 5e. And I am prone to throwing like ancient dragons at like level 5 characters because
and they'll beat them.
They'll still beat them.
They'll beat them.
Yeah.
And so like if you're trying to bring in like extra drama, that's one way. Like to me, that's like an ingenious way to do it because players know what like all the creatures have until you're like, oh, but suddenly this other thing shows up. So even if mechanically it's still skewed to the players, they don't know what's going on, and then you as the DM can easily incorporate it, and then it just like flows well, brings the audience in. So having not done it, I love the idea.
Nice.
And it is something, if you're going to be streaming, one thing I would highly recommend is, that's funny. Yes, Zach, we were talking about Roll for Seduction. I just saw in the chat, sexy troll. We're talking about Roll for Seduction. Yeah, Zach's seen the troll. But yeah, it having the ability to sort of roll with the punches and be able to improvise and be able to think on your feet is ridiculously important for live streaming. Even it's important for the players for sure, but as if you're the story guide or the GM, you really have got to be able to roll with. Because you can't, it's a lot harder to just be like, oh, I'm going to take 5 minutes and that tall stack of purple books and go into the bathroom and figure out what the hell I'm going to do. It's a little harder to do that on a live stream. So being able to roll with the punches is an important skill to cultivate. So we're at about, I'd say, 8 minutes left on the panel. If anybody has any final questions or thoughts, please let us know. Otherwise, what's everybody got going on this weekend? There's this con going on, I know that, but I mean, like, what's your Saturdays looking like? Scott, what's your schedule for tomorrow?
Oh, my schedule is I'm running tech for the They Came From panel in the morning, and then very shortly after that, I'm doing tech and playing in the They Came From game. Which I may or may not survive that game.
Oh, you're playing Camp Murder Lake?
Yeah, Camp Murder Lake.
Yeah, you'll die. You'll die
I
quick.
may be set up as a sacrificial lamb. So we'll see how that plays out. That should be fun. And then later that afternoon, I'm going over to a friend's to play the Dune board game.
Nice. Sounds like fun.
That's a real fun one, especially with the advanced rules.
Yeah, I have yet to check it out. I have a complicated relationship with Dune that I can't explain in 7 minutes.
Talking about Dune or Doom?
Dune.
Dune.
Oh, okay.
Sandworms and
Quits
space.
out cataracts and
Space
Okay,
drugs.
okay. The less sophisticated of the two. Gotcha.
I got so high I could warp space. How about you, Chaz? Any what's your weekend looking like? What's tomorrow look like for you?
So tomorrow at 10 Eastern, I get my first experience with Exalted.
Nice.
Know nothing about the system, but I saw.
Oh my
this
god, you're on
person-
my channel tomorrow. Have fun.
Oh, nice! Yeah.
Make sure to clean up the place because like it's getting dirty right now. I think Anonymous is
Probably
over
is.
there. Oh, that's rad. I hope you have a good time.
Yeah, super excited. And then at 5:30, I don't know. At some point in the afternoon, we're doing Scion Demigod, which once again, like I say, my only job is to take whatever the players do and then just like extend it as far as I literally can. And then I think Sunday I get to be back in your game for the first time in like a year.
It's been a while since
Yeah.
I've run a game for you. Yeah, I've played in 2 of your games, I think. So,
Yeah.
We got a question. Are crunchy games or narrative games more fun to run as streams?
Oh, narrative.
I'm going to say narrative.
Yeah.
The crunchy rules could get bogged down and boring. Like you can really get into a slog of just a death spiral of numbers. Narrative games are a lot more entertaining.
How often do you like the characters in your favorite TV show to pull out their script to check to make sure they're doing it right? Right? Like,
It's just as the one thing I experienced that is different from like, and again, I hate to pick on D&D, but it's the easy target.
you can take it. I think it's okay.
Yeah.
Wipe its tears with its money.
One of the right, exactly. I get self-conscious when we hit like round 3 of combat on a stream. Even if the players are all having fun, even if we're all like really into it, there's a little subroutine in the back of my mind that goes, "This is boring as shit. Move along. Kill them. Just kill something and then move along."
30 second fix for that. There's a 30-second fix for that. It's not super pervasive, but it's one of the things I really like from V5 is if you're in a combat for 3 rounds, it needs to change places, or there needs to be a variable change, like a big one, like you get punched out a window, or the dragon now is 2 dragons. Like it needs to just go wild. And I think that's the best thing in that book, aside from the blood die.
No, the hunger die is great.
Yeah, hunger die.
Thank you.
But yes, no, that's a good call. And
I like that one.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Question: is there 2 narrative like Fate or similar? I'll let you know if anybody ever actually runs Fate for me. I've tried really hard to find a chance to play Fate or to play anything that's powered by the apocalypse.
Oh, do you want to play? I'll have you over for Extra Life, dude.
That'd be great, because those 2 systems. Now I love, like, again, I'm not just saying this because I'm wearing the hat and I work with Story Path is probably one of my favorite systems that's ever been conceived. And I've slept on it a few times, and I still think They Came from the Cyclops' Cave might be my favorite role-playing game. Because I got to run Skeletor. And I got to say, "Pass the power of friendship" at one point at a player on a stream. So yes, it might be my favorite. You royal boob. But anyway, the point being is, I don't know how to. Those games have always scared me a little bit.
I didn't run, but I produced a stream game of 12 Candles. A couple of years back. And that was fun because the person running that was a master at running that game. And it was also really cool because like we did natural light, so the stream just got darker and darker and darker.
Nice.
And like you could just see like shapes on the thing with like very little light. And then at the end of the game, I was able to turn on the lights remotely, and I got a lovely scream.
That's great. That is the only role-playing game book I have read cover to cover. Like I always skip around so much, but then I bought that like about a month ago, actually, because I heard so many good things about it, and I just sat down one night on my phone and just read it all the way through. And it's only like 40 pages, but still, like it was like, but it was just so engrossing. It's so cool.
Yeah, it's very cool.
I'll have to check it out because those I'll being completely honest, games that are a little bit too loose in the mechanics, they worry me a little bit because I'm like, I'm going to screw this up, and I have nothing to fall back on.
Powered by the Apocalypse isn't as loose as you think it is.
That's fair.
If you're a player, you have a lot more control than you think you do. And the game's played as a conversation more than anything else. It's a really neat system, and I'd love to have you in something like that. Actually, Travis, if you're interested, we're doing a bunch of Firebrands games, which is another system by one of the people who developed Powered by the Apocalypse, and it's basically party games.
Oh. Yeah, I may have to poke my head in for that.
There's a He-Man one too.
Oh, well, there you go. Let me know when. Still not going to beat Cyclops' Cave, though. That was, right in my heart. So what do you have going on this weekend, speaking of which? What's your schedule for tomorrow?
Oh, me? I'm an idiot. So I got a spot in They Came from Camp Murder Lake game at 8 tomorrow morning Pacific.
Alright.
And then I go and I run Mage of the Victorian Era. And then I immediately take a half-hour break and run Ghost Hunters. And then I'm in They Came From Beyond the Grave at night.
Wow, busy. busy
Yeah,
boy.
and then
Madman.
yeah, I know. I'm doing tech on Sunday morning for Pugmire game. And then after that, unfortunately, Dorktales can't run the closing ceremonies because I gotta kill off my Deadlands game. I'm tired.
Right.
I need to hit the old dusty trail with that. I gotta have the season finale. And thanks to a
And-
COVID scare, we got pushed back 2 weeks. So
I understand it happens, and I appreciate all the hard work that you and all of you are putting in this weekend. For me, I have. What do I have? Oh, Crossroads Continent. Yeah. First thing in the morning over at Plastic Age Plays, I will be airing the third part of the actual play that started on the Pathcast. So if you have not yet listened to episodes 1 and 2, Pathcast is up. You have like 12 hours catch up on those. We'll be airing part 3 of Down in the Hole. Down in the Hole was just released in advanced PDF this week over at Drive-Thru RPG. Would love it if you would go pick that up. People's of the Crossroads Continent, which is kind of the core main book for Crossroads Continent, is 90% off right now, so you can get that for 50 cents over Drive-Thru RPG. Go grab it. And after that, I am going to be on Crossroads Continent panel. I think there's a Pugmire panel maybe tomorrow. Come on.
still have yet to play Pugmire. I need to play that.
Oh, it's
And
fun.
I think there's a Scarlands panel maybe at some point. I don't know.
Ooh.
I'll have to look at the schedule. I wrote them down so I wouldn't have to remember, as Henry Jones Sr. said. But yeah, on that bright, shiny note, we are all out of time. I want to take a moment, though, once again, to thank you all for being here and to extend my deepest apologies, Kelly. I really thought that you were still on a game.
No, it's okay. That's okay. I'm just glad that it didn't cause too much trouble.
No, no trouble at all. I'm this is our reward. This is our fun for all the work we do to put this thing together, is being able to do this panel. So
Nice.
I'm glad that you were able to make it, and glad that we were able to.
Thought it was
squeeze
too,
you in.
man.
Yeah, it's a fun time.
I want to thank the audience very much for their thoughtful and wonderful questions. And I also want to remind everyone that there are plenty of games still running this weekend over at Start Playing Games. If you go over, check out the Onyx Path Con, pick up a seat at a table. 50% of what you pay for your seat is going to go to the GM that's running it. 10% goes to Start Playing Games for the administrative work, whatever they do back there to make it work. And then the rest goes to the Bodhana Group, which is an incredible charity. They focus on therapeutic uses of tabletop role-playing. It's great stuff. Even if you don't go play a game this weekend, go to the Bodhana Group's website. It's bodhanagroup.org, I believe. Check out their mission, check out what they do, donate directly. You can always do that 365 days a year. I'm sure they're even open on Christmas. So until then, please take care of yourselves and each other. Wash your hands, wear a mask, all that fun stuff. And I'll see you all tomorrow. Have a wonderful, glorious Onyx Path Con 2022.
Bye. Bye-bye.